gotta ask yourself whether reality is a dream or you a dream for reality. We're all a part of the answer to the meaning of it all. Trying to join us for the moment we call now. Rise up, join in, raise the whole vibration.
Yes, hello. Rise up, join in, raise the whole vibration. My new theme song, I love it. I've been playing around with AI music and doing some cool creative stuff using AI as a tool. I know there's lots of thoughts about it. I have my own trepidation sometimes, but you got to move forward, and that's what I've been doing. So, what is up, TLOCers? I don't know what to call you guys. People who have been watching my show, everybody's got like these nicknames of like the people who follow them, and the live stream of consciousness. I was trying to think of what would I nickname like the people who watch the show. I don't know, the conscious live streamers, I guess. So welcome. I appreciate you guys being here. What's up, Ninja Kitty? I see you out there. Freezing. Yes, it is freezing. We are human popsicles at the moment. Sonia, being from Brazil, is not used to it. What's up, Tim? Good to see you. What's up, Arnie Layton? Good to see you. It looks like the seats are filling up. Thank you guys for being here. It's Thursday, January 23rd. It is. We've agreed to call it that so that we all know where and when to be here. And I'm excited to be here. It's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about this show. Some people have been making comments about the diligence and the commitment that I've been here every Thursday pretty much for the last over 3 years, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. But to me, it doesn't feel like, yeah, there are some times where I'm like, oh my God, it's Thursday, I got to do my show. But then when I get here, I realize that this is my happy place. This is like a moment that I intentionally created to be here, to talk to a person about their connection with source, to get a piece of the puzzle, to just have my own moment, and you guys share it with me. So I appreciate you guys being here. I don't know if you guys have seen or heard. You probably have, because I've talked about it. I'm also doing a show on Tuesdays called Holding Space on the Sacred Spiral Network, which is pretty cool. Out on the West Coast, a bunch of people doing different shows, psychic mediums doing different shows like this. But the whole point, and I've been thinking about that a lot lately, is the mission of raising the vibration of the planet, of humanity, of our fellow brothers and sisters. And mission's a little bit of a strong word. I think it's more of just like a mode of existence, when you realize that the more that you give love and help others, the more that helps you, the more that helps the collective, and it just becomes kind of like the way you are. So there you have it. That's a little bit about me. What about you? If you guys are watching live, please type in the comments #live. If you're watching the replay, type in the comments #replay. I know I ask you guys to do that every week, but that just like tickles the algorithm so that the higher powers that be out there know that there's somebody out here talking that people are listening to, and the message is getting around, and that will help us get the message around. Thank you, Ninja Kitty, for typing #live. We are live. We are in the live stream. We're in the moment. I'm excited. It seems like in 2025, I'm kind of revisiting some old friends, and just like kind of catching up. And what's cool is I've been here for 3 years, but I've been growing with each episode, each conversation. And so it's always great when I have somebody come back on the show. And I get to say one of my favorite things that I got from Alex Ferrari, which is welcome back to the live stream of consciousness, returning champion Sarah Asha Rose. What's up, Sarah? How you doing?
How are you? Nice
I'm
to
doing
be
good. How are you
back.
doing?
I'm good. I'm excited.
Welcome back to the live stream of consciousness. It's
Thank
grown
you.
up a little bit since the last time you've been here, but
Yes, I love that. I love that you're still with it and growing and doing it.
totally. I look back. I've had like 200 conversations with amazing
Wow,
people,
that's
and
amazing.
yeah, it's really cool because I feel like I'll get comments on videos that are archived, you know 6 months, 8 months, a year
Oh,
later, and people are like, oh, I
wow.
found this and it touched me, and there you go, right? That's the whole
Right.
validation, right? It's just like,
That is a great thing about YouTube too, because it's long form content, right? So even things you posted a year ago, people are seeing still. It's really nice. It happens to me sometimes too.
yeah, it's great. And actually, I have your YouTube channel pulled up over here on the side. You have some
Oh,
great,
okay. I
some
haven't
great.
created anything new lately, but there is a lot on there.
No,
Yeah.
but like you were saying, that's the good thing about the
Yeah.
platform. It's like people who are seeking, right? Which is seems like a lot of people right now. Everybody's looking for some answers, right? It's There's lots of
Yes.
questions all around, and everybody's
Mm,
looking for answers. And so, it's
mm,
great that there's a spiritual community out there, people who are putting together content and
mhm.
you know expressing their specific message in their specific way, because not everybody hears everybody else, right? Everybody vibrates a little bit differently. So,
Oh, absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know, somebody who's going to come across your message and vibrate and be like, "Oh, wait, that makes sense to me." And that's kind of our story too. I want to talk about that whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about that at the meeting we had recently, and
Yes.
it is truly a significant story. I think it's the kind of thing that
Mm,
people need to hear to feel okay about
absolutely.
their
I agree.
experiences. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But
Okay.
even though you've answered the question, I
Yeah.
always like to ask the question again, because you're never standing in the same river twice, right? You can't. It's Everything changes. Life happens. I know
Mm,
you've been through lots
every
and lots of
day.
changes. Um,
Yes.
so where are you at with your relationship with consciousness? What is consciousness?
Oh, that's funny. You interviewed so a while ago we did that, and I remember being stumped answering that question. It's like you do this work, but then to have the words to explain something is like, uh, I think consciousness is being aware of your spirit.
Mhm. Sure.
It's consciousness is being in a place of observation of your spirit and coexisting in the oneness and seeing how everything's existing together as one and being a part of that oneness, right? And instead of looking from the outside in, it's radiating from the inside out and seeing everything as a living, breathing part of you,
Mhm.
and being aware of that. To me, that's consciousness. And I don't think I had the words for that the last time you asked me that, which was, I don't know, how long ago was that? I don't know.
That's probably 2 years ago, but you just
Not.
described it. You do have the words for it. You just
Well, now
described
I
it.
do. Now I do, but I didn't the last time.
Oh,
You no, we did a like
we
with
did.
Anna
Yeah, we did.
Miranda, remember?
Yeah, yep. So before the live stream of consciousness,
Yes.
I had talked to you about a concept I had called Channel Zen, which
Right, that's what we did. Yes.
right, which is very much like the
Yes.
Sacred Spiral Network. It was just basically a place where I wanted to cultivate, or curate, rather, that's a better word,
Right.
curate, content where people who are seeking different kinds of answers will find, maybe somebody's never heard of channeling, and they like psychic mediums, so they go see a psychic medium, and then there's somebody
Right.
else has a show about channeling, and it's like,
Right.
and so that's really was has always been my vision. And
Hmm.
that's what brought me to the Sacred Spiral Network, and the woman who runs that has been super super supportive by
Hmm.
offering me a show on her network. And she really pushes this show as well. Like I said, when people feel the call to really elevate and try to help, spread the message of love, and high vibrations, and that the power that we have, right? Because very often we feel very powerless, right?
Mm.
And I think a lot of people go through a lot of life. I mean, I'm a little older now, right? It took me a while to get to this point where I don't feel powerless. I certainly have felt powerless, many times during my life, and
Mhm.
I obviously wasn't, right? Because I'm still here. You know what I
Mm.
mean? I made it
Mhm.
through whatever those times were that I felt that.
Mhm.
But here I am. So I would love to know. I know you've been through a lot of stuff. What is your relationship with consciousness now, like with the energies
Mm.
that you channel and with your role in all of that?
Wow, that's a really beautiful question. I really like that. Because I have been reflecting on that and how that's changed, you know?
Hmm.
So I guess I've been channeling for about 12 years now. And how I started and how I am now is different. And I was reflecting and thinking, wow, even though I had this massive awakening and I was trans channeling and speaking language and all these things, I still had a lot of like a human, insecurities and fear and lack of self-worth and guilt and fear of being judged and persecuted and just fear of success, right? And all these things. Not so it's such a contrast, right? So I was able to channel and connect, climb the dimensions and pull in that information, but it was always for other people, right?
Hmm.
So it wasn't for me, like I wasn't receiving it for myself fully.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I think the big difference between then and now, and in my relationship with Source, is that I feel like I embody it more. So instead of like giving, I do give, but I feel that I embody it more. I sit in it more. My relationship to it isn't outside of me. I am it, right?
Hmm.
It is me.
Hmm. Yes.
I think that that's the biggest shift in this coming year too,
Yes.
embodying that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And I think what goes along with that, and I'm using my intuition right now. I'm vibing on kind of where that's coming from for you and for the collective. And that is the idea that you've got to always achieve something. There's always like this
Mm,
this thing, and I know you felt that. I mean, we've talked, and even if we haven't talked specifically about it, I can sense it, like, and in the
mm,
spiritual community, right, there's always this like, oh my God, I've got to earn a living, I've got to do these things, all of these things
mm,
that you're trying to do, when the truth of the matter is, the secret is to just be you, right? And those things,
mm.
let those things happen. um
Yes.
and it's
Mhm.
silly. I always make silly memes, but they're like these channeled little bits of wisdom, right? Like, I
Mm.
remember saying years ago, like, don't look for the answer, be the answer.
Be it. Be what you're looking for, right?
You know what I mean? Like these simple
Don't
things.
dream it, be it.
Right,
From
right.
Akihara. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think those kinds of philosophies and those little tidbits of wisdom, for me, my relationship with those little tidbits, like, I feel them, I know them, right? Even though maybe I'm struggling with my bills this month or whatever it might be, I still feel, Arnie Layton, there you go, I still feel like I
I
am.
am. That's
I
right.
still feel like I
I
am, not,
am that.
and
Yeah.
and and I feel like I am one, and I know that I am two, right? So
Yes.
so
Yeah.
what I mean by that, and I think you'll be into this and you'll understand this too, because this is related to what you do, but I feel like language is a very limiting thing. And the language of the universe is feeling. The language of the universe is
Yes.
emotion, right? and
Yes.
and and that has to do with our story. Okay, so let's tell our
Mm.
story, and then I want to kind of break it down a little bit simpler, just for people, so that we leave this video here for people to come across and like maybe learn what channeling is. But
Sure.
I had so the story is that I had seen channeling on YouTube probably 10, 15, maybe even it was 20 years ago. And
Mm.
to me, it was somebody sitting, they had a space background like this, you know,
Oh, yeah, like Roxy used to have that.
just
Yeah.
just that's kind of like the style, right? It was like a green screen, but not like the background graphics, but like behind
I know
here,
what you mean.
yeah, like a Zoom thing. But somebody talking about the Galactic Council, and at that
Mhm.
moment where I was just like, okay, that's a little bit out there,
Doesn't
like
resonate.
seemed
Yeah.
it seemed more like performance to me than
Oh,
something valid,
yeah.
and I was like, okay, whatever, to each his own. I've always been that way anyway.
Yeah.
And then this Sarah comes into my life, right? I'm hanging out with Steve Interante. He's doing these workshops, this white light
Right.
production, you know,
Right.
and
Yeah.
he calls me up and he's like, I got this woman coming on my show, Sarah. She's a channeler. I want you to check it out. And I was like, okay, let me go check it out. And I go and I look up a video of yours on YouTube, and there you are, and you're speaking light language. And I'm like,
Mm.
oh, what is this? This isn't the Galactic Council. This is like singing. This is like music. Like whatever it was that you were doing, whatever the video was that I saw, it resonated with me so
Mhm.
much so that I started to cry. And I had an emotional response to it. And
Mhm.
again, that was a part of I think that was a part of me even realizing that, oh, Janice is out there saying hi.
Hey.
That was a part of me even realizing this whole connection with that idea that crying is actually physically manifesting in the moment. Whatever thoughts are in your head that are making you cry are
Mm.
are manifesting as a tightness in your throat. You could feel it. It's a feeling. Like I said,
It's
it's an emotion.
tangible. It's
but
real.
but physically also water. Tears are coming out of your eyes. Like that's super, super powerful. So to me, that became a significant moment. And it happened a few times with you, to the point where, we had a one-on-one session and we started working together and doing some fun
Yeah.
things.
You came to the White Light event too, right? When,
Well, so when I saw the
yeah.
video and I said, I got to go see this woman in person. And
Yes, you came in person.
in
Yes,
person, I had the emotional response. And I don't know if you remember
I do.
our one-on-one session, but
I
I also
do.
had an
Yeah,
emotional response. It was
I
just,
do.
there was something that you were communicating, which is really how light language works, right? It's kind of like this frequency that comes through you to be received by whoever happens to need to receive it in the way they need to receive it. And
Mhm.
I guess I needed to receive it at the time. I certainly did, and I do all the time. I love light language, and I love learning about how it's expressed in so many different ways, uh,
Mm.
not just different dialects and like languages, but even through
Frequency.
visuals, like hieroglyphics, like people
Oh, mhm.
draw light language.
Sigils? Sure. Yeah.
It's just expressed in so many ways, and that's what this show is about, right? This show, for me it's about exploring unique individuals' relationship with source and how they connect to source.
Mhm.
So I want to give you a chance to talk about channeling, and again, leave this kind of thing here. And I know you've done it. I know you've told your story before, but again, I feel like that's our that's why we're here, right? So for people who may not know, like take us
Mhm.
back to what is channeling even.
Sure. So, for people who've heard that term or maybe not exactly sure what it is, I always explain it the simplest way is um, being a bridge, right, between spirit and physical reality. And you could think of an artist as a channel, a musician as a channel. Do you
Mhm.
ever get a song out of nowhere that, or a poem or even if you have a friend in need and is crying and you're on the phone and all of a sudden you have this wisdom and you make them feel better and
Mhm.
you just have a knowing, right? We are all channels because we are all God. We are all one part of source. And that's our birthright to be able to connect and to receive and pull in information. So that's the simplest way that I can, break down channeling in that way.
Right.
Everybody channels, right? So there's levels of it, right? So there's everybody channels, and then you can partner with divine beings, and you can blend and merge with their consciousness They can speak through you, merge with your own consciousness. That's a form of channeling, right? Light language is certainly a form of channeling, channeled sound healing, right? Healing, letting source work through your hands is a form of channeling, right? So it's kind of this umbrella term, but sometimes I guess people have a fear of it when they're not sure. Like you might see someone channeling and think, oh, it looks like they're acting or perform, like you said, like a performance, right?
Right.
Or so it might look like this weird thing, but really, I think now we're getting more and more every day, starting to normalize it, where it won't. It's kind of less woo woo than you think,
Right.
right? Because
Right.
we're all connected to. So I guess that's the easiest way to explain it, channeling, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny because of the circles that we run in. I try to back it up and break it down. That's why I asked you to do that. But
Yeah.
like I ask people, hey, have you ever heard of Bashar? Right. And
Yes.
like I
That's
think
great.
I'm getting a lot of people who are telling me, no, who's that? And to me it's
Yeah.
surprising
Yeah, and you're
because
like, oh, yeah, yeah. I know, because in our own circle, we're like, oh,
you know
you don't. Everyone knows Bashar, right? I know.
of course, everybody knows Bashar,
Right.
but I think Bashar and Bashar to me is so inspirational because of what you
Mm,
said about this fear, well, because of what you do, this fear of being persecuted. Can you imagine
mm.
what Bashar must have went through? I mean, he's like a trans channel. He like,
So the guy who
he
channels him, yeah, Daryl Anka, right? Yeah.
Daryl Anka, yeah.
Yeah,
So
he's
I
been
mean,
doing it for a long time, I think,
he's been
since the
like
90s.
30, 40 years, like he's been doing it a
Yeah.
very,
Yeah,
very long time.
Bashar actually comes through sometimes when I channel. It's really neat.
Really? Wow.
Yes, I felt it. I felt it, and I was like, this energy feels familiar. It feels like Bashar, but I wasn't going to say it because and a couple, like one day people were like, do you channel Bashar? That feels like Bashar. So
Right.
it's either because, and to me, I'm like, why do I think that's weird? I mean, why wouldn't it be?
Exactly.
If
Right.
I'm
Exactly.
channeling, if I'm opening up to receive that, but I didn't mean to cut you off. But yeah, Bashar is a good example um, of a consciousness that's opened up a lot of people. Abraham too.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think that's the one maybe people know the most. Abraham. I mean,
Yeah.
look at law of attraction and The Secret. I mean, that book was based on the
Yeah.
teachings of Abraham,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that consciousness really opened the door for a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
other consciousness to come through. Yeah.
Mhm. Totally. Totally. And I'm. It's really interesting that you say that. And I think actually, I may have known that you say, you've channeled Bashar too. So I feel like
Yeah.
just I'm just gonna say just like a kiss, mwah, right? Just like that. Like I feel like I also have channeled Bashar in the form of a response to a question.
Mm.
So I don't know if I don't know if you know him. There's a guy, he may be watching the show right now, Angelo, who has kind of come into this spiritual curiosity. So he's hanging around the scene. He's meeting a lot of people. He's asking lots of questions. What is this? What is that? What is what is that? And he, I think, is the one who I might have even said that, like, don't look for the answer, be the answer, right? But that's kind of
Mm.
the kind of thing that Bashar says.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know what I mean? And
Yes.
and and so Angelo will ask me a question, and I'll just respond with a piece of information, and I'm like, oh my god, that kind of sounded like
That
Bashar.
feels like Bashar.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I mean, if you connect with that energy, it merges with your consciousness, right? It doesn't surprise me. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's funny too because he has an energetic signature, just like anyone else.
Mhm.
And when I feel that, the way I connect to that energy is like it's 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 direct, right? It has a directness. It has a sense of humor.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
it has a tonality and inflection of the way he taught. It's very interesting to feel different energies, how you feel them, how they present themselves to
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
But it's all love, right? It's all
I think, and
Yeah.
that's a great point. I think that that's why I had the emotional response, right? Because I realized I had that realization. I don't think I had the words until you just said it, right? But
Mm,
that's how I respond to channeling now. I
mm.
am so much more open to it that I respond to it with love. I love speaking to Wendy Gale,
Oh
who
yeah, Travis Metatron.
oh my God, I've had so many amazing conversations with
Yeah.
Metatron. I feel like I've
Oh, yeah.
actually, I feel like I've made friends with Metatron
Mm.
through one-on-one sessions
With
with
Wendy.
Wendy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I say I made friends, it's back to kind of that thing that you're saying, like that we're all connected, right? Like we all know
Mm,
each other. We all come from the same thing, and that level of wisdom, like that you know what I mean. So it's like, I feel like it's like this unspoken thing. I hear all the stories about NDEs, and you hear the story of people kind of um, astral traveling, or experiencing another realm, and the feeling that goes along with it of not having to speak and just knowing everything as you're kind of looking around and experiencing it, like it all just makes sense, right? And you're just a
yeah.
part of it, and like you know
Yeah, and it's not as weird or surprising to be able to like connect to Bashar and that he's speaking through you. It's like, oh yeah, like we're all one. Like,
right,
the most interesting thing that I could say about that is when I started channeling Jesus, that I had a difficult time with that because a lot of people ask a lot of questions. They want to know things like the crucifixion. It was intimidating energy to channel,
I
and I
can imagine,
struggled.
yeah.
I struggled with it, and I asked the consciousness, Yeshua. I asked Jesus. I said, "Am I really channeling you?" Because I have my doubts too. So I asked, and the answer that I got was, "You channel the aspect of me that is you."
Mm,
And I was like,
that's beautiful.
"Wow!" I was like, "Wow!" That just answers so many questions because it's like it blew my mind. So it's almost like something like, ooh, like to think of like, okay, so what does that really mean, right? Like
Yeah,
that's pretty
it's
powerful. Yeah.
it's really powerful. That's awesome. I love that. And it's interesting for me too, to because that, I don't think for me, like when I first saw you, and you were channeling Amana, like
Amana.
the light of
Yes.
Amana at the time, right? And then
Yeah.
I think after that you kind of started to connect with different
Now there's so many
energies
different, yes, yes.
and different realms, fairy realms and dragon realms, and
Yes,
you
yes.
know, and
Everything. It's all a big melting pot.
and it's interesting because I don't know, I probably didn't share this with you. I have shared it with my audience, but I did have an experience. It was only once. It was a very quick experience that I would call a download,
Mm,
where I felt like all of a sudden, like all of this information and all of these ideas and just like this knowledge was coming into my brain, and these thoughts, and making sense, even though I still have trouble grasping it 100%. But the
mm.
information that I got was that imagination is reality.
It's a gateway.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That imagination is like, that's where the real stuff exists, and that this is just such a limited focus of energy, you know what I mean, into a physical being. But really, it really all exists in imagination. And when I got that download, a lot of things started making sense to me about,
Mhm.
specifically like Wendy. I started thinking about Wendy, and I said, oh wow. So, and you can tell me what you think about this, because you're channeling too. Wendy conjures Metatron by imagining Metatron.
Mm.
And just by imagining Metatron, and I use the word conjure, but it's not the right word. But by
Like
bringing
invite, like
bringing Metatron into her thought, right?
yeah.
Then she's able to connect, and that's where the channeling happens, and that's where
Mhm.
she's able to now bring Metatron through. And it just made sense. It just all kind of made sense to me, and I was like, wow. So I had this woman on my show. What was her name? Let me just see. Christina Franz, who was also a channeler and light languager. But she, and I think you're doing this now too. Is kind of her mission is activating people, allowing them to understand that they can do this too. They can talk light language
Yes.
too. And we had some sessions, and um, I was amazed at what happened. And I know for me, as much as I know, as much as I love to talk about these things and explore these things and feel these things and be around the energy, I am still struggling. My challenge is letting go.
Mm,
Completely just like
yes.
letting go and being like, okay, I'm just gonna go with this, even though I might be right at the precipice looking around and wonder like, oh my God, there's the fairies, there's the dragons, but to actually make that leap and just float into that realm, is that's where I'm still kind of trying to learn. And I know that through this show, through these conversations, I'll find that right connection. Somebody will say the right thing that will make that spark, and that connection will happen.
But for you might want to start, you connect to your inner child too.
Mhm, mhm,
Like your inner child can be the gateway to the imagination. A lot of us have been, I guess, can programmed from school, and
mhm, mhm,
we have a hard time being in the imagination because it's been like programmed out of us, you
mhm,
know?
mhm, mhm. Absolutely. It's interesting you say that because as you said that, I was like, oh yeah, what was I like as a kid? What did I like to do? What
Yes,
what
start
was fun?
remembering.
And I can
Yeah.
remember, it's interesting because it was my mom had a little Super 8 film camera, and
Oh,
and
okay.
I had a Smurf collection,
Awesome.
and and I would do little stop animations with the Smurfs. I would like set up the camera
Oh,
and have the Smurfs like walk across the table and like interact with
yeah,
each other. And
yeah.
so I was always into this visual creation medium that I do now,
I
like
keep
that.
a picture of my inner child, well, my real child self. So I have a microphone in my hand. That's me with my grandmother.
Oh wow.
So I really feel like your child self is who you really are, right? And will teach you things about yourself. You always knew, right? Like you always knew that you loved film. You always knew what you wanted to do. You were making movies with Smurfs when you were a kid, right?
Yeah.
We know who we are when we're kids. We
Yeah.
just don't know that we know. So if you want to connect with your imagination and your soul purpose, a lot of people get lost, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's my purpose and who am I? And it's all in there.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
just got to go back and remember it and weed through all the false stuff that isn't you, right?
Yep, absolutely. And I think so for me, again, as you're speaking, I'm feeling these things, so I want to respond. I think that as human beings, right, the part of the gift that we're given of this existence and the mission or the purpose is enjoyment, right? And to be what brings you your highest passion. But I think that's done through creation, right? Creating. And
Oh,
creating doesn't necessarily
absolutely.
mean drawing. It could mean
No,
singing. It can mean writing. It can mean dancing. It can mean cooking. I mean,
gardening. Yes.
gardening, right? All of
Yeah.
these things are creative expressions, and also not only creative expressions, but each one of those, as I'm saying them, I'm thinking about doing each one of those, and each one of those is a certain an easy way to get into a flow state, right? Like you just
Mhm.
go and you sit in your garden, and all of a sudden that's all that matters. You're in your garden, that moment, that
Absolutely.
that intention of being there and doing that, that's that's the moment.
Yes.
That's connecting with
And
source.
because we are creator beings and we're meant to create. That's what we're
Mhm,
meant to do,
mhm.
you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Totally. And I gotta say, I was talking earlier about using AI, right? And playing around with
Oh,
AI
yeah,
and
yeah. I heard you say
some,
that.
yeah, doing some cool art stuff. But now I'm doing some
I love
music stuff.
AI.
I, I'm
Yeah.
doing the music stuff, and I found some old things that I wrote, right? Which I just kind of wrote and I brought to a certain point, and they've just been sitting there. and I'm playing with them with the AI, and I've actually been inspired to now write lyrics. I'm not letting AI write them. I'm actually writing the lyrics, but I'm having AI just put it all together with the music and make the song.
Fun. Yeah,
And it's really inspiring me to be creative again. It feels so good. It
does
feels
feel
so,
really good. Me too.
feels,
I'm
yeah.
painting again and combining like using AI art and combining it with my real art, and
Mm,
it's real, whatever, hand paint, whatever. But it's
sure.
fun. Yeah.
That was what one of the original projects that we worked on was your little
Oh,
people.
my little guys. Yeah.
Yeah, that was those were great. That was a great series of work.
Yes,
Have you
I'll
done?
bring them. I'll bring them back. No,
Yeah,
other things focusing on. They'll come
right.
back. Yeah.
Will. They definitely will. That's and you know what's cool about that is that's the kind of idea that is, eternal.
Yeah.
You could
There's
always
some
bring that back. It's just a great because it's like a little representation of ourselves. It's like a little
inner
reflection.
child too. Yeah.
Little reflection. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. You just made me remember. I came up with one of these random thoughts uh in the middle of the day today. I was talking to my friend Jesse, and oh, Jesse. I was talking to Jesse, and I realized that no matter where you are, no matter like where you are in infinity, right?
Mm.
Because infinity is everything. You're always directly in the middle.
Mm. Yeah.
Because it goes infinitely out bigger and it goes infinitely smaller, and you're directly in the middle. So that's I don't know, that must mean something to me. I felt it made me feel good. It made me feel
That's
like, all right,
Well,
I'm right,
it's one
right
of
where I'm
the, it's
supposed to
something that
be.
you could it's something you could meditate on. Has That's very deep. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're always right.
you're
Yes, you're always
always exactly where you're supposed to be at
you
that.
are. I know, and I think as human beings, we're always striving and struggling and wanting more. And am I doing enough? And am I fast enough? And this, and then you connect with divine and your angels, and they're like, "No, you're good. You're right where you should be."
Yeah,
And it's
totally.
like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Totally,
Really? Are you
totally.
sure?
Yeah.
You sure?
Well, I always say it, no matter what's going on, I know who I am, right? And I know how I feel, right? I know that I feel like I want to be love, I want to give love, I want to express that to everybody. I just want everybody to know that they're great. It's like, and I
Mm.
think walking around feeling like that, you get a lot of really good reflections. You get a lot of it's an
Oh, yeah.
energetic thing. It's an
Because you're
energetic.
you attract, right? You
Yeah,
attract what you are.
yeah,
Sure.
totally.
Yeah.
So I know one of the things that you said to me when we recently connected was that you kind of took a break. You've been away for a little bit, but you're coming
Mm.
back. And one of the things, and the reason that we reconnected was this committee meeting for this great new soul care conference that we'll be talking about.
Yes.
I don't want to say too much about it right now, but there's a great new event which is a collaborative event with a lot of people who again have this mission or this idea of, hey, if we help raise the vibration, it's only going to help everybody, and we need to kind of do that now. Um but I want to know, like, that seems to be the direction you moved in as far as like speaking and getting
Mm.
this message out. And I know you also hooked up with Lisbeth, who I had on the show
Yes.
recently, and
Yeah.
you both have this incredible angelic
Aw,
vocal
yes.
energy together. Tell me what's going on with Sarah now, and what your plans are for 2025, because I know it's going
Okay.
to be a good year.
Yes. So yeah, I was running like a coaching business and doing like mentorships and helping light workers find their purpose. And I was doing group coaching and one-on-one, and I really just got burned out. Just like giving, doing, running a business for 5 years, online business, posting content constantly. And in October, I was like, I don't want to do. I need a break. Like
Mm,
I want to get my creativity back. Like I want to focus on myself. So I paused to finish up some projects, finish up a book I'm working on, and really just like focus on myself and my art and just like find myself, right? So I pulled back a little bit just to find myself, and I feel like this year it's just really believing in myself. All of the old dreams that I kind of put aside are really go for them. That's really what I want. Finishing my book, speaking,
Mhm.
you know, and meeting Lisbeth is wonderful because, you know, we're like soul sisters, and I've been wanting to do retreats forever. And then when I met her, I was like, do you want to do retreats? She was like, yeah. Like it was just like this instant. So we'll be leading a women's retreat in July in Costa Rica. I'm super excited about
Awesome.
that.
Awesome.
Helping people open up their divine channel and, you know, reconnect to their spirit in a beautiful immersion in nature.
Mm.
Yeah, reconnecting with you and Diane and everyone. And just, I haven't done any channeling in a venue like that in a very long time,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
so reconnecting with parts of myself. For people watching who don't know me, I started channeling about 12 years ago, and I was plunged right into it. So I had kind of like a built-in spiritual community, and I was channeling like from the get-go. I guess it was like I was thrown into the fire. But then when COVID happened, you know, it was like I was constantly channeling, and then I lost it all,
Mm.
and it was all online on the computer.
Mm.
And then I was just like, I'm missing the in person, you know, like I'm
Mhm.
missing connecting. I want to be on stages. I want to be connecting with people. I need, you know, so I feel like that's coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
I feel like the in person stuff's coming back.
Yeah.
So
It is.
that's kind of it, you know, like just really like finishing projects and believing, like not putting them on the side anymore. And just, I guess finally what I want to say is sometimes I don't know if you ever feel like this, and maybe people watching feel like this. I feel that when doors close, like it's like spirit closing doors on purpose because it's time to open a new door. And sometimes as a human being, we don't want to, we're like, no, like for money or
Mhm. Mhm.
predictability or the unknown is scary, right? So we hold on, but then things stop working. And then we get mad and frustrated, but we're like, oh, that was a gift that stopped, or that I failed and that was a gift, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So kind of that, a little bit of that going on, like, oh, that's not working anymore. Okay, there's a reason why, right?
Mhm.
So yeah.
Interesting. And thank you for sharing that. Like that could be a scary moment, but I think when you've gone through it enough times, you're like, okay, ooh, something good is about to happen.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
that,
Oh,
and
this isn't
and
anymore. I can't force this anymore. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know if we talked about it, but I'm going through that same exact thing. I had kept this store open, where I was working because it is such a great place, and the
Mm,
universe was just like, get out of there, you got to close that door in order to open.
yes.
And the truth is I still haven't closed it. But I'm standing at the door saying goodbye. I'm like ready to close that door,
Right.
and I'm very, very aware of it. And I just want to say to you, I just want to give you a little validation, because
Mhm.
what you just said about being on stage and talking to people, um, from the moment I met you, and even before I met you, when I saw you on that video and I had that emotional response, you do have this incredible presence,
Mm,
and this energy of, um, calm, of
mm,
of of divine,
mm. Thank
of
you.
like matriarchal,
Mm,
energy that is like, it's just really, really amazing. And I know, knowing you and having spoken to you and even watching you, do your content, that sometimes you have your doubts. And I just want to tell you
yes.
that for sure, like, keep doing
Human.
what you're doing, Sarah.
Oh, thank
You're
you.
You're so amazing. I know so many people who respond to you that way, you know, like
Oh,
behind
thank
your
you.
back, you know, they're just like, oh my God, she's so incredible.
Oh,
You know,
thank you. I
you
appreciate
really are. And Elizabeth too, and together, I cannot wait to see what you guys do
it.
at this
Yes.
conference. Because I think that's what 2025 is about for me, is like combining the energies, and like now we've made so many great relationships with people who we know are like-minded, you know. I think it's become very clear, and I think if it hasn't become clear, it's going to become very clear to people who's operating from the heart and who's operating from the ego.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest challenge right now. And
Yeah.
I feel very grateful to have met so many people operating from the heart, that I could trust. I feel grateful to have the wherewithal to recognize when people don't operate from the heart, and know that, okay, I've still got to navigate my relationship with this person or whatever the situation might be, but knowing that that's how they're operating helps me navigate, right.
Mm.
It also helps me not change who I am because of it, right? Like, because, oh my
Mm.
God, this person's doing this, I've got to, maybe it's me, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
knowing that it's not.
Well, when someone's living in their authentic truth, right, that's only going to rub off, right? It's like it inspires you to, like, oh, I can be that too. Like,
Right.
that's why there's no room for jealousy or comparison or this or I used to compare myself to people a lot and be like,
Sure.
how come I'm not this or how come I didn't this and what's wrong with me? But I think that that kind of it destroys, your individualness and
Yeah.
everybody,
Sure.
it's,
But then you find out that those people love you and think you're great, right? And
right?
isn't that cool, right? Isn't that
Or that
amazing?
they're comparing themselves to you. It's so,
It's
but the
yeah.
thing is that when someone is shining their light authentically, right? Like that's a huge gift because it's like it's an expansive light that allows you to open up your heart too. Like you don't have to close down because I'm open and you can be open, right? It's like you give people permission to like be themselves,
Yeah. Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Like, you know,
And that's why I came up with my new show, Holding Space. That's what I do. I hold space for
nice.
people. You
Yeah,
know,
be
it's like,
yourself. Yeah.
that's really what I do. I want to rattle my audience a little bit. I know there's a bunch of people out there watching. Everybody's just being quiet. I know that Sarah's so engaging and that this conversation is so engaging that you guys are left silent. But does anybody have any questions for a channeler?
Oh,
You have an amazing channeler here. I'm sure you guys can feel her amazing energy. I definitely recommend. Oh, you know what? I didn't put up my banner. We still have 10 minutes, so let me put up the banner that has your YouTube channel and your
oh yes. Oh, thank you.
website on it.
Yeah.
I did bring up I do want to share that while we're waiting to see if anybody's got any questions. Don't feel pressured, you guys. You don't need to ask questions, but I'm just figuring it's a good opportunity. Let me see here. Present, share screen.
If they don't have questions, I could speak a little light language if you want.
Oh, you know, it's so interesting now because I kind of feel bad because a couple times I've been like, hey, would you do a reading? And people like, oh, I wasn't planning on it, so I don't. Unless we talked about
Oh,
it before, I wouldn't want to put you on the spot. But I would love a
oh, okay.
demonstration of light language. Before you do that, I do recommend, uh, especially if you like what you're about to hear, I do recommend checking out Sarah's YouTube channel. There's amazing content on
Oh
here,
yeah, there's a lot on there. Yeah.
meditations and just really great things.
And then if you go to my videos, there's like old footage of me channeling. I'm on it. There's so much on there.
Yeah, really good, and great job with your thumbnails.
Oh, thank you.
This YouTube channel looks great. I love it. Very nice, very
Thank
nice. Um, So Debbie Romero is out there. Debbie Romero is one of the people who I integrated with Sacred Spiral Network. She's an amazing psychic medium
Oh,
and also paranormal investigator. So
ooh, that's cool.
yeah, she's doing some really, really cool things right now. Thank you for inviting your followers here. But yeah, if you want to channel, is it like, do you know who you're going to channel, or does whoever comes through, or how's it working?
Yeah, so I could set an intention. You know, with light language, it's so immersed. I'm so embodied with it, right? So a little when I can speak it at any time. It's not like trans channeling where I have to step back and allow.
Gotcha.
It's
Okay.
like I can just undo yin and the shumunya, you know, it's just there. But if you would like to set an intention, um, that could be powerful and that can be healing, you know, and rather than me just speaking it if you want.
Yeah, let's set the intention of raising the vibration in 2025 of just um a, lo- uh, setting the intention of hoping that everybody opens up their minds and allows spirit to come through and bring us to where we need to be as a race of human beings that should be loving each other.
Ai chiu yin chiu chi te rin gono snia no non da gindi chiu utsuya. Arkati chia what sui chi nya wa kondoi arai sia watse. Inda na ngui saranga na gini tong na na ser u andi arsteacha. Urtistiatsa e kondoi si vuoi. Se inala. Se ha se inala e si vuoia. Ashawuya katania nia wurn Utsi katanin shakananuia orgunina. Sia brokovoshi. Sia urra kateli I ruin nanane. Jiwa takna. Shitete ikoe chialo. Mochiwalo. Vasheta alitar moechava. How was that?
Oh, amazing, amazing. And I mean, I know for me, I'm able to like absorb and be like, okay, here it comes, and absorb. But is
Yeah,
there any specific message that that
sure.
comes with that?
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of times people, especially people who are not as familiar, will be like, well, what did that mean? Right. And I always encourage people when you listen to something like that, right? Feel the frequency, feel the like you would listen to it like you would music. And you will get a feeling from it, like you said, with your imagination and your heart. But me as the channeler, right? I also I'm using my psychic senses so I can hear, feel, and receive while I'm channeling. And really, I felt like what they were saying was there was a couple of things there. One of them was you're going to be forced to come out of your shell, and
Mhm.
it's okay. You're
Mhm.
going to be pushed. Some of you are going to be pushed out of your comfort zone. It's interesting that I felt that, but
Mhm.
it's okay. It's all okay, and you're going to land exactly where you need to be.
Mhm. Mhm.
And things are going to get stirred up, but that's okay. It's all the way it should be. It's all moving as it should move, but sometimes things have to be a little uncomfortable
Mhm. Mhm.
for you to get where you need to be. And I almost felt like the whole planet is being pushed like squeezed out to see the
Mhm.
truth, like
Mhm.
pushed out,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
really like being forced to kind of wake up.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
what I felt. Like a lot
Yeah.
of people are going to be forced to kind of wake up.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Um, but it, yeah, you know,
Yeah,
that,
no, I love that, and I think that's that. If you think about it, or I'm thinking about it, and I'm responding into it right now, is that there all of that stuff that's going on where there's a lot of fear about no, the world is burning, and I was at that
right.
place at one point. What's going on? The
Mm,
world's burning around me.
mm,
I think that a lot of people are going to struggle with that shift and this energy that's coming through. And I think that the people
Right.
who like you and me, not that we're not going to struggle, because as I think as a collective we're going to struggle,
Hmm.
but we'll that's what a light worker is. You know what I mean? We're here
Hmm.
to assist the people who are struggling, so much. And
Hmm.
sometimes that feels like a struggle too, I'm
Oh
sure.
my God, yes. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, because it's a balance between how you serve and how you integrate these things for yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. And
but
the reason that I wanted to kind of bring you back, and I know sometimes, having done this for 12 years, right? Sometimes you're like you've experienced so much growth, and you're kind of so much awareness, so you forget that
hmm,
there are people out there who just have no clue like what's
yeah,
really
it's true.
going on, right? So sometimes I like to do that. I like to just step back and say, hey, what does channeling even mean, right? So that somebody who stumbles across this video is like, oh wow, you know what, maybe it isn't weird, maybe that's what I've been experiencing, right? Like those feelings of,
Right.
you know
There have been times where people like on Instagram will be like, I used to think this was so weird and stupid, and then I saw you and you really changed my mind. And I'm like, I love that. That like
amazing,
makes my day because I
amazing.
feel like, I'm able to, I don't know, like I am a channel, but I can be grounded and people trust me somehow.
Mhm,
And they're like, wow,
mhm.
she's authentic, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like a weird gypsy like trick or, people are very jaded.
Yes.
The internet has made people very jaded
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
on guard, but
But and as yes, I'm going to agree 1,000,000%. But there's also a contingency of people that it has opened up and allowed
oh,
to,
100%.
connect, like that person who saw you and said, "Oh, I used to think this," and then they connected to you,
100%.
and it's just.
Yes.
You know what? We always talk about energy here on the live stream of consciousness. It's an energetic exchange. Even
Yes.
in a video you recorded 5 years ago, somebody comes across it on TikTok, and that energy comes through the phone or whatever it is, that exchange,
Yes.
you're now on the same vibration, and something happens in the universe.
Yes. And you have to be, I guess, ready to receive it. Like I've had some people say, like, I love your light language. And then my sister or my brother-in-law will hear it and be like, what is that? That's demonic, because they
Mhm.
can't receive it, right? They're plugged into a different, field.
Narratives, yeah, paradigms. Yep, yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
amazing. Well, I'm certainly, for one, glad that you never gave up, and you continued, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
continue
I don't feel like I
to.
have a choice. I
You
couldn't.
don't.
I
No, no, you
know.
don't.
I don't think I could do anything. I've tried. I've
You could
tried.
run, but you can't hide. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Oh, that is. I've got that message before. You can't. There's nowhere to hide. You can't hide. Because I've wanted to
Exactly.
hide. Believe me.
I know, here's something interesting for me. This message has come up over the years in different things, in one or two um experiences, very, 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 very profoundly. But the idea of the message that everything is going to be all right,
Yes.
right?
I
That
know. It's such a
that
simple
message.
message, but it feels so good. I know.
It is, and for me, like I said, I've encountered that physically being said probably like 3 or 4 times over the last week. I,
Mm.
I know in concept and in thought it's always there, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, do Hmm. What am I trying to say, Sarah? I'm trying to ask you if you have a parting message. I love talking to you so much. It's been an hour. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do. I feel like um, that's the energetic mission here, is to impart messages for people to know that everything is going to be all right. So if I needed you to tell the world everything is going to be right, how would you tell the world? That's my
It's
question.
funny because the first thing I heard when you asked that, surprisingly, was don't be afraid of your shadow. don't be afraid to look at the things that are ugly inside of you or make you uncomfortable, because there's such gold there. There's your freedom is there.
Mhm,
So don't oh, thank you, Arnie.
mhm, mhm.
And that has been so rewarding for me, to look at my ugly things and love them anyway.
Mhm.
Um, that to me is freedom.
I love
And
it.
so I don't know. That was what I heard when you asked.
Great. I love it. I talk about like the building blocks of surviving and being happy while you survive, and self-love is like number one right there. And that,
Oh,
and
it's
I
everything.
think that covers everything that you just said, you know.
But
It's
in order to love yourself, you have to be non-judgmental of yourself
yes,
and love it all of it, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Authentically. Actually do it.
Yes,
I
authentic.
tell this story.
Right.
I'm just gonna close with this. I tell this story about what I thought, right? I know you have a daughter. I personally don't have any children, right? But I have plenty of experience with people who do, and I can certainly see what a parent looking at their child, what that feels like, right? Like that relationship is just this incredible unconditional love, right? The universe, the way it's supposed to be, that relationship, that energy exists in that relationship. So
Mm,
the gaze that a parent has to their child, I always felt like self-love was if I could look in the mirror and I can
yeah.
feel that, that's self-love. And I couldn't for a long time. I would look in the mirror
Mm.
and I'd be like, I don't feel that. And through a lot of work, there was one day I just walked by a mirror. I caught a glance of myself and I looked different. I just looked different,
Oh,
and I felt that that's that unconditional love. I loved myself, you know, and everything changed, you know. It was just like
it's amazing. That's a beautiful story.
yeah.
Yeah. It's I think the most important thing is self-love,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah. It's like that is the foundation for everything. Everything hinges on that. Like you said, putting yourself in the middle, being in the of the infinity,
Yes.
right? Put yourself, because like if you think about it, if the sun isn't in the center, right, then everything else flops and is off kilter, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
The
Hmm.
sun, and you are your own sun, and you should be in the center of your own universe. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Sarah, again, thank you so much for coming back. I would
this
love
is fun.
to, I'd love to have you on Holding Space and have another great conversation
Yeah,
like this. So
sure.
we'll talk about that. We'll get that onto the calendar. Um, and I guess the next thing that people can look for you at is this Soul Conference, right? I think that's happening in
Yeah.
April.
People are on Long Island. Yeah, they should come. It's going to be
Awesome.
amazing.
All right.
Yeah.
And people around the world, it's right there down at the bottom of the screen, YouTube and Sarah's website. And
Yes.
if you vibe, definitely get in touch. She's made me cry many times in the best of ways.
Oh,
um, so
thank you for having me.
no worries. Let me just take a quick. I'm popping up my calendar to see if I even got a schedule next week. I know I've been kind of cutting it close. I think Christopher Allen might be next week. Ooh,
Oh,
another returning champion. Awesome.
ah,
Very
how's
cool.
he
Yes.
doing?
He's doing great as well, you know, just like living, growing, evolving.
Yeah.
You know, he's had some ups and some downs. He's in
Yeah.
a great, amazing relationship, which is always really great.
All right.
And so he's doing good, but I'll tell him you said hello.
Yes. Thank you.
Cool. All right, folks. It's been a great hour with you guys. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you guys next week.
See you
Peace.
soon. Bye.
This is the theme song for the live stream of consciousness. You gotta ask yourself whether reality is a dream or you are dream reality. We're all a part of